The lights were too bright for his tired eyes, and the stage felt too big for a boy who had never owned a proper pair of shoes. But when Daniel stepped onto that stage, holding a microphone that shook in his small hand, the entire world seemed to hold its breath. The judges didn't know his story yet, but they were about to. Daniel was only 14, but he had lived a lifetime of struggle. His mother had passed away when he was 8, and his father, unable to cope with the loss, slipped into a life of drinking and despair. For years, Daniel sang on the streets of Manchester, his voice echoing between cold stone walls while strangers hurried past. Some days, he earned enough for a sandwich. Other days, he went hungry. But every night, he sang. Music was the only thing that made him feel close to his mother again. She used to sing to him before bed, whispering that his voice could move mountains one day. The morning of the audition, Daniel almost didn't show up. His clothes were worn, his shoes barely held together, and he felt invisible among the other contestants who came in confident and well-dressed. But one of the show's assistants, a kind woman named Claire, noticed him sitting alone outside the studio. She handed him a bottle of water, smiled, and said, "You've come this far. Don't walk away now." Those words stayed with him as he waited backstage. He could hear the roar of the audience, the buzzers, and the cheers. His heart raced. His name was called. It was time. When Daniel walked onto the stage, the judges looked at him with polite curiosity. "What's your name, sweetheart?" one of them asked. "Daniel," he said softly. "And what will you be singing today?" He hesitated, clutching the microphone tighter. "Wind of Change," he said. There was a brief pause. One of the judges smiled kindly. "That's a big song," she said. "Good luck, Daniel." The music started, that haunting whistle of the intro, delicate and nostalgic. Daniel closed his eyes, and the world fell away. His voice trembled at first, but then something inside him opened. Each note carried the weight of every cold night he'd spent singing for coins, every dream he'd almost given up on, and every memory of his mother's voice echoing in his heart. By the time he reached the chorus, the audience was silent. The boy who had walked on stage timid and small now stood tall, his voice strong and pure, filling the room with raw emotion. People began to cry, not because the song was sad, but because of the power behind it. They could feel his pain, his hope, his longing for change. When the final note faded, the room erupted. The audience stood on their feet, clapping, shouting his name. The judges were wiping their eyes, visibly moved. One of them leaned into the microphone, her voice trembling. "Daniel," she said, "that was one of the most powerful performances we've ever heard on this stage." And then it happened, the golden buzzer. The confetti fell like golden rain as Daniel's eyes widened in disbelief. He stood frozen, tears spilling down his cheeks. For the first time in years, he felt seen. He looked up, whispering softly, "This one's for you, Mum." Backstage, Claire ran to hug him. "You did it, Daniel. You really did it." But his journey wasn't easy even after that magical night. Fame came fast, but so did fear. He was still the same boy who had grown up on the streets, still unsure if he belonged in a world full of bright lights and cameras. Interviews, rehearsals, and attention overwhelmed him. There were moments when he thought about quitting. One night, while rehearsing for the finals, he broke down. The pressure, the expectations, the loneliness, it all crashed on him. His father, who had seen his performance on TV, showed up at the studio unexpectedly. He hadn't seen Daniel in years. The man looked worn and fragile, but his eyes were clear for the first time in a long time. He walked up to Daniel, placed a trembling hand on his shoulder, and said, "I'm proud of you, son. Your mom would be too." Those words healed something inside Daniel. The anger, the sadness, the longing, they all melted away. That night, he sang again, not for the judges or the cameras, but for himself, for his family, and for everyone who had ever felt forgotten. When the finals came, Daniel walked on stage with quiet confidence. He sang with all his heart, every word a promise that no matter how dark life became, there was always a wind of change waiting to lift you higher. He didn't just win the competition, he won hearts across the world. Millions watched his story online, sharing it with messages of hope and courage. People said his voice reminded them that no matter where you start, your voice can still change your world. Years later, Daniel would perform in front of thousands, but he never forgot the night when the world finally heard his voice. And every time he sang Wind of Change, he still looked up, smiled, and whispered, "This one's for you, Mum." Because sometimes, the golden buzzer isn't just a button, it's a reminder that even from the darkest places, dreams can still rise and shine brighter than ever.